This spring, my Japanese language school gave us 10 days off for Golden Week. During the break, I traveled to Yokohama, where I stayed with a very friendly homestay family. I had an incredible time visiting local parks, eating delicious food, and making some new friends, all in Japanese. Looking back on my adventure now, I realize the experience really captured many of the things that I've enjoyed most about studying Japanese in Japan. Let's start with the small things first. In Japan, I'm still so excited that I can easily get access to native media content on platforms like Japanese Netflix and Unext, as well as Japanese manga and books in every bookstore. In the US, this type of content was either hard or entirely impossible to get my hands on. Now that I'm living here, hardly a day goes by where I don't run into some sort of Japanese learning opportunity, even if I've been taking it a bit slower on my studies for school that day. Everyday life has become the best sort of passive immersion tool because important words and grammar are constantly being used all around me. There are also plenty of everyday activities in Japan where I'm pushed to actively speak and read Japanese, like registering my address, signing up for a library card or bank account, or mailing a letter. Those small differences alone might have been enough to make a move worthwhile. But as the weeks here progress, I've noticed some even bigger changes that have made this trip truly life-changing when it comes to my Japanese language acquisition. Japanese is what's known as a high-context language, which means that the culture of the country where it originated is even more important than it would be for a low-context language, like English, which isn't tied to just one culture. In the last few years, I've found some Japanese language concepts quite hard to memorize from across the world in the US. Now that I'm surrounded by Japanese culture everywhere I go, it feels like some of these challenging language features are starting to click more easily. For example, identifying the various levels of formal Japanese used to feel like trying to solve a math equation. After hearing them in use, however, I now understand why there are so many and what place each has in everyday life. I also found that even simple vocabulary like yoshin sticks in my mind better after experiencing an earthquake aftershock in real life, since I can now picture exactly what that word is referring to. Building friendships in Japanese has also forced me to evolve my language learning from an intellectual exercise into a real-world tool with a meaningful impact on my life. When I want to tell my friends stories about my day or talk about topics that are important to me, my brain kicks into a new, higher gear that I can't quite access when I'm just studying on my own. Right now, the most challenging language scenario for me is when people ask me unexpected, on-the-spot questions about new topics. Interestingly, despite all of the study materials I've been reviewing for the JLPT, I still find these conversational moments to be the biggest hurdles to my feeling confident in my Japanese language level. Living with homestay families has really helped with this, as it means that I face these kind of conversations every day, even more than in school, where the topics are somewhat more limited and I can often anticipate the scope of what we'll be talking about ahead of time. Moving to Japan has helped my language studies in ways I never planned for. I'm sure I could have still made progress from the US by focusing more on clever immersion-based study approaches, but I have to say, none of it really compares to actually living in Japan. I've made friends I never could have met otherwise, and gone on some incredible new adventures, all in Japanese. The more my brain registers the importance of acquiring this language for my everyday life, the more progress I seem to be making. My ultimate language goal is still quite a ways off, but I'm so thankful that I came here to study, and I feel like I'm beginning to see the path from where I am to where I want to go more clearly. With some help from this friendly country, a school full of patient teachers, and the friends who put up with my stumblingly slow dad jokes, this next stage of my learning journey just keeps getting better every day. Thanks for joining me for this look back on my first few months of learning Japanese in Japan, as well as some of my favorite memories from my Golden Week vacation. I look forward to seeing you next time.